Welcome, my friends, to YouTooSpain Live. And this week I'll be asking our expert residency specialist, Chris from Upsticks, all about healthcare for Spanish residency. Whether you're EU or non-EU, retired or working, S1 or not S1, we'll focus on what documentation you need, how to get it, and you'll hear about people's real-life experiences when sorting out their residency. This is part one of a 2-week look at healthcare. Next week we'll have a health insurance expert who'll be focusing on the actual policies and answering your questions about that. Today we'll also answer viewers' questions as usual about anything else to do with visas and residency, and we have the answers to some frequently asked questions about moving to Spain and living here. And finally we'll be having one of our popular arguments about something topical, and Chris once again doesn't know the subject, so that'll be fun, a nice surprise. And he also has an Upsticks goodie bag to give away to whoever asks the best question or leaves the best comment, and I think there's a YouTooSpain sticker in there as well. So extra prizes today. So get commenting. Yeah, that's right. Do that on the live chat over there or down there on whichever device you're on. Or if you're watching the video back afterwards, of course, you can do it in the comments below, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can, because you are a part of this too. That's what this channel is all about. You are very welcome to YouTooSpain. Run the theme music. I'm talking to myself now. Run the theme music, Scats, and let's dance. Oh, yes. I like how there's just a little delay there where all you see is me nodding my head because the theme music's still going on. Anyway. You didn't need to know that. I've had too much coffee. It's been a long night. Anyway, that is groovy. And speaking of groovy, let's meet my regularly fortnightly expert guests. Oh dear, I need a different set of teeth. These ones are lovely, but sometimes the words come out wrong. Anyway, he's my best mate and yours. It's Chris from Upsticks. Hola, mate.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Yes, yeah, very well, very well. How did your gig go yesterday?
It was really nice, actually. There was an initial panic when I couldn't actually get out of the gate, the electric gate, because we had some kind of power problem in the house. It wasn't a power cut, it was just some of the fuses weren't working and part of the supply wasn't working, and then so there was a bit of a panic while we got the landlord out, and he's fiddling around with sort of bypassing everything and stuff, but I made it eventually. And yeah, and we had a nice crowd. And we had a German woman who's studied to do Irish dancing in Ireland, and so she got up and did some, and we played some Irish tunes while she did that, and the audience loved that. So yeah, it was all very good, and it's getting warmer.
It is, yeah. Shorts on today. Your shorts on. Yeah, well, it didn't take much for me to get shorts on, to be honest with you. So that's fine. They're all up at me here in the office block. The giddy always wearing his shorts. But yeah, short sleeves are out again. Yesterday it was lovely and warm. The fire's not on. You wouldn't believe that we've just come off the back of a month's rain, would you?
No, you wouldn't. I've got my thinner clothes on, and all my thinner clothes are the colourful ones. So yeah, you'll see all the shininess coming out from now on. And I'm still wearing a thin hoodie because the sun's not quite on this building yet. Right. So I've not got my shorts on yet, but much thinner trousers.
Fabulous.
Yeah. So brilliant. Let's see. Have you got any shout outs before I go to the live chat?
Yes, yeah. Just want to say hello to the Owens, who might think they'll be watching, because I met them this week to get some stuff going for the visa. So that was good. So I said I'd give them a shout out and say hi. And yeah, I think that's it for me this week.
Groovy. And let's see who is with us on the live chat. So Adam Farmelo, morning all. Summer seems to have arrived here in the Midlands. Lovely. Hello to the Midlands. And yes, it definitely, well, spring has certainly arrived, but of course, compared to the UK, the weather out there at the moment, it feels like summer. And it's the first time since 2023 I've been able to go out in the sun and feel comfortable with it without covering myself over completely. So
Of course, yeah,
this
because
week's
of the
been
cancer,
brilliant.
yeah.
Yeah, because the radiotherapy and chemo just reduces your your immunity and your resistance to that kind of thing. So you don't want to get skin cancer as well as the other one, do you? So
Wow.
yeah. So I've been really enjoying it, and I shall continue to do so. Who else do we have? Lisa Hibbert. Hello, Lisa. Good to see you. And Yogi's with us. Good morning. And Donald Mackenzie has become a member at Loyalty Level 1. Not quite sure what that means. I think that just means you're at the first stage. Thank you for doing that, Donald. And I think you get some kind of extra notifications. I'm going to have to study that one. Jason says, good morning both. Mad David is morning cupcake, he says. That's a lovely term of endearment, isn't it? And Yogi says, best form of healthcare is to hit the gym regularly. Yes. Are you on your running machine? That's usually what he's doing when he's watching the show. That's perfect. And Jason says, happy Midlands summer, Adam, today anyway. Haha, hope it lasts. And Craig Halliday, a very sunny good morning to you both. Jason, sunny Birmingham, but only 7 degrees. Well, that's okay. Paul Cook says good morning. He's in Spain this week, working on his house near Huercal, already 19 degrees. That's delightful. That's down on the coast, isn't it? That one? I don't know.
Isn't Huercal Almeria, I think. I don't think it's on the coast, I think it's inland.
Is it not? Oh, well, that's nice. Nice if you get in. Mind you, if it's low down, of course we're up in the mountains, so we get.
It's Almeria and inland, near Old Box, which is very popular.
Ah, yes, great. Anton Kez are on. Hola, it's sunny there in France, and Jason. Oh, Jason's got his prizes. Thank you for my prizes. It arrived yesterday. Document folder will be great for when I start my NLV application. Excellent. Tony Silcock. Actually, I don't think I've seen your name in the live chat before. Welcome. Coming out to Murcia on Monday for a couple of months and then applying for visas when we get back in June. Marvellous. And Paul Bradley says hello from Paul and Suki. So, anyone else joining us? I think there's a few more of you who haven't yet said hello, but do get on there. Paul Cook says, yes, Almeria inland. There you go. Confirmation that you know how to read a map, Chris. So, straight on with the show. And we have the main feature. And that goes like this. It's the main feature of the show. The topic's in the title. Woo! Oh, yes, it is indeed. The topic is in the title. And the topic today is healthcare, and we're going to be looking at it from the residency point of view and documents and that kind of stuff. So let's go through some of the basics first. Who can access free healthcare and why?
Well, anybody. If we're talking about the non-lucrative visa, and we're talking about the EU residency here in Spain, actually, as well. And there's a few things that we can comment on. People who've achieved Irish passports but lived in the UK and got an S1, for example, from there. But anybody who's a state retiree, who've got their state pension, or the partner or spouse of a person who's got a state pension can get an S1 document from the pensions authorities in the UK, and that will allow you to access at the current time of making this video. You never know what's going to change, but it hasn't for 5 years. The public healthcare system in Spain.
Great stuff, yes. And we'll break it down into categories then. These different categories. First of all, retired people that have access to the S1. First of all, is that just UK citizens, or are there equivalent certificates in other countries?
No, the S1 is a European. So in terms of equivalent certificates that give you access to social security healthcare for the immigration purposes, it's only the EU. So the S1 is an EU certificate, which is one of the things that was maintained post Brexit. So yeah, any of the EU countries can give their citizens S1s. And we've had a few from people. For example, we had an American who spent most of her life in Italy, and she got an S1 from Italy. We also had a British client who spent most of his life in France, who got an S1 through France. So you can, if you're obviously each separate country has its own eligibility criteria, but most of the time, if you receive a pension from that country, you can get an S1 and they'll cover your healthcare if it's the EU.
Great. So the S1, let's look at that in particular. When do you have to tell the consulate that you're moving to Spain when ordering your S1? Is that's sort of the date that you need to tell them you're moving? Is that right?
Yeah, so the S1, this is quite a complex thing. We get this all the time, and it's quite hard to explain because there is a misunderstanding and a grey area between the authorities that issue the S1. So maybe we should just go back and say to get the S1, there is a few ways of actually getting it. Unless is that one of your questions?
Well, the next question is about the process.
Right. Okay. So I'll talk about the time. So when it comes to a visa application, so the non-lucrative, for example, right, when you get your S1, you have to inform them of a date that you will be moving to Spain. Well, this is impossible if you're going for a visa, because you don't know when you're going to be moving to Spain, because we know that the visas is pretty unpredictable when they're going to be released. You can make an estimate, and the date that they request has to be within 90 days of you ordering the S1. So obviously you can't do that either, because a visa can take up to 90 days, especially if you're going to the Manchester consulate. So what we always suggest to people is, look, and we've been using this method for, well, ever since really the start of the S1s being used for NLVs. If you remember years ago, 5 years ago, for the first 6 months to 8 months was a bit wobbly whether they'd accept it or not, and then they came along this process of accepting them. We tell people to use their target appointment dates. So say, for example, we're engaging with a client now, so we say 6 to 8 week, 1st of April, 6 to 8 week preparation time average for the documents. I mean, you can, if you really pull your finger out, you can get them ready in 3 weeks, but if you don't, then it's 6 to 8 weeks. So if your target appointment date 1st of April start would be the 1st of June, then when we come to order the S1, I'd be saying we'll use that as your move date, because then that allows us enough time to get the S1 in, complete a process here in Spain, which needs to be completed before you go to your consulate appointment. So it's your target appointment date that you need to be giving them as the move date.
Great stuff. That is very clear. We'll come to the process in a second, but there's an interesting question. Oh, let's just say hello to El Davido. He's a bit late, but interesting bit of keyboard misplace. Cornigan Yawl, which he corrects later to morning yawl. I don't know how you managed to get all of the letters wrong. That's brilliant. And Paul Cook says, yes, he's only 35 minutes to the lovely beaches, in spite of being inland in Almeria there. Mike Fisk says, good morning. And now, so the question from Donald Mackenzie is very relevant. So, if I have an Irish passport, thanks Mum, but I've lived all my life in Scotland, I should be okay to get and use a UK S1.
Yeah, that's what I was going to mention before. Yes. So we've successfully got EU residency applicants, their residency cards, using UK S1s and an Irish passport. Right.
So does that mean to get an S1 you have to have lived in a country for a certain length of time and paid into social there?
Yeah, well, so for example, this happens an awful lot with people who live their whole life in the UK, never got an Irish passport, look at moving to Spain and decide, hey, I need to hold my Irish passport. So then they'll get an S1 from the UK, which relates to their British nationality and the fact that they've been in the UK working and getting a pension, they'll get the S1. They'll get an Irish passport, and they will receive their health care with the fact that they actually are getting it paid from the UK, but they're resident here of an Irish passport. Now, the first ones of these we did, I was like, this is a bit strange, because it's not going to figure your Irish ID document at all on the S1. Will we need to produce both the UK passport and the Irish passport, but use the Irish passport for the residency and the UK passport as proof of ID or something like that? So far, so good. We haven't come across too many problems, to be honest with you. The social securities have been quite understanding. Whether they even look, I don't know. I don't need to look at the name and the issue date, but you always get these especially if people have had an NIE before. In a British passport, when we go to these appointments, there's extra explanations are needed to be given to the person behind the desk. But ultimately, the good news is, as we know with EU appointments, it's not like a consulate or a renewal for a visa where it's dealt with by the subdelegation of the government. It's dealt with by an officer behind the desk. So they have the power. And if you have the explanation and the documents, then you should be fine.
So it does pay sometimes to have, a lot of the time, to have someone like you there who has got experience of these kind of exceptions.
Yeah, I mean, you could. It's like we had one in Montreal in Grenada, for example. I actually drove to this appointment, and when I got there, I was there, and the guy, it was a EU appointment with somebody who previously had an NIE with a British passport and wanted EU residency. And the guy who openly said behind the desk, he went, "I've just been moved from customs and I'm here." The guy who should be doing this is off sick. And I said, well, it can be done. We've done it hundreds of times. He went, well, hang on a minute. And he phoned up the subdelegation anyway. Just wasn't confident about doing it. He said no. He said, "You're gonna have to go away and come back when the other guy's here, because I don't know." He didn't say I don't know what I'm doing, but that was quite evident. And at those points, you do have to reassess and go, okay, no problem. We'll rebook. Can you give us a date? Walk back. And we came back with the S1 with everything, and the guy who is regularly there just laughed and went, "I'm really sorry about him." So there's no panic. I said to the client, "Look, don't panic. We're going to have coffee. Don't worry. That you've still got days." But those things do happen at appointments. If you get the wrong person behind the desk.
Yes, indeed. So thanks for your question, Donald. And I hope that covers it. Ian Butterworth says, so getting old has got something going for it, even though you have to put up with all the other problems like aches and pains. I tell you what, I've never talked so much about aches and pains since getting the diagnosis last year. Before that, I was like, in my head, I was 25 still. But suddenly I'm not anymore. Yeah, so I've joined the whole batch of people who are older than me now. So, but there you go. You live with it, don't you? Yeah. And Kez saying, mucho claro, Chris. Very clear. Lovely. El Davido says he's got fat fingers. Yes, I know the feeling. Oh, sticky keys on the keyboard. Just be careful you don't spill your coffee. Matt David says, El Davido, so it's not the sherry then. Lovely conversation going on there. Russ Camp says, good morning all. Good morning to you, Russ. So let's go through the process then, Chris, of the S1. How do you get the form to start with? When do you need to present it? Is it at the visa or the residency appointment or both? And is there any other documentation you need?
So for a visa, for non-lucrative visa, the S1 actually needs to be presented twice. There's a bit of a crazy pre-presentation that goes on, and then the finalization of the document, and then for an EU, you could say for EU it needs to be presented twice as well, because not only do you present it for your residency, you then have to go and register it. So talking about the visa, the way to get the S1, first of all, is you can either use their email platform or I'll send you an article that we wrote actually on our website. It shows you all about it. That's it. Okay. It gives you the whole instructions on how to do it, or you can give them a call. And the good news is that around 18 months ago, they started handing them out on a digital platform as well as posting them out. They only used to post them out before, which was a real pain, because we started off over the last 5 years. It's evolved where they'll only post them out. They'll only post them out to a Spanish address. Then it was they'll only post them out, but they will post it to a British address because they realized that people needed visas. This was 2 years after Brexit. So they can't send it to a Spanish address because we would literally get them to the office, then have to courier back to the client. Crazy. And then now they've started sending them via email and a physical copy in the post, but the email copy is a valid copy if you print it, albeit we always advise to print in color. And to get it on the email platform and the phone call, they may ask you questions. The first thing they're definitely going to ask you is your national insurance number. And sometimes we've had clients who have been asked questions about the start and end date of certain jobs or when they retired and stuff like that, just to confirm it's actually them. And it's very important that it's the person who's applying who makes the phone call. And if you've got for example, a beneficiary, so somebody who isn't of S1 age but qualifies as your spouse, have them with you as well if you are applying, so they might want to ask them questions.
Brilliant. So that's how to get the form.
Yeah.
When you present.
You need one each. Always remember that, say, for example, you've got one, it's a married couple. So let's look at quite a typical demographic that we have sometimes. A married couple, one of those persons is retired, state retiree, has access to the S1. The other one isn't, but can come in as a beneficiary. Okay, you have to request 2 certificates, but one of the certificates will have just one person's name on it, and the person who is the beneficiary will have their name as the title holder of the certificate, but at the bottom on the back page it will have the person who's given the right and access to the healthcare. So it is 2 certificates.
Right. Brilliant.
Okay. So we've had it before where people have just got one and filled in their spouse's names on the back. You definitely can't manipulate this document. Okay, definitely not.
No.
And then in terms of how to register it, when you're doing a visa, you first have to pre-register it. I call it a pre-registration, but it's actually just a registration with the Social Security in Spain, which we do for our clients, or if not, there's an online platform if you're doing your own visa. And this generates a document that when you go to the consulate, you have your S1 and you have the registration at the back of the S1, we always tell our clients. To take, and that proves that you've ordered it, and you've also informed Spain that you will be registering there. Now, with the registration, it's a ridiculous state of affairs, because that registration then arrives on the desk of the Social Security, and the Social Security either archive it, reject it, or just park it, because you don't have residency, you don't have a padron in most circumstances. And it's a farcical operation until you get into Spain. So what we have to do once we get into Spain is, when we organize the padron and we organize the TIE card, etc., is then resubmit all those documents to
sorry, knock me pen off.
you carry on. Resubmit all those documents to the Social Security to then get the registration and the document we need to register at the healthcare centre. As for EU citizens, like people who found obtained Irish passports, you go straight to your appointment with no pre-registration, and once you've got your residency, straight to S1 registration with the Social Security.
Excellent. And any other documentation?
Relating to, so for the initial application for a visa, for example, note the S1, that's you covered, that's your healthcare, that proves you've got access to healthcare. And if you've got a spouse, and then they would have access to healthcare. And in some circumstances, maybe children or dependents if they're disabled. We've had a couple of circumstances where we've held people with disabilities who have been adults but depend on an S1 beneficiary, and they've been able to get it as well. Okay, so there is special circumstances. I'm talking very broadly, but if we went into that, the video might be a bit long. So it's always worth, if you have got a particular special circumstance, maybe dependent, disabled relatives who are coming on the visa, whether they can get it as well, because obviously they wouldn't have much access to private healthcare because it'll be hard to get. But aside from that, no. But when you come to finalize the registration with the Social Security, you definitely have to have either your resguardo or proof of your residence in Spain, your card, your European card, adds on proof where you live, so Social Security office you're applying to knows you're in their province. And if you are a beneficiary of someone else, a copy of the marriage certificate, which really should be translated and applicable from outside of Europe.
Hello, I think your voice has just come back. It went a bit burbly there for a minute. It does this every week, I think, just for like half a minute, but then it clears up again.
Where did you get to?
Well, I could still hear what you're saying. So, audience, did you get all of that?
Maybe it's got a waffle meter on it, and every now and then it just just like cuts out and says he's waffling on again now. But
it never does it with me. Well, I can't tell, but obviously it's of course I wouldn't notice because this is
maybe it happens if 4 people on the live fall asleep.
It's very clever. It's the AI, isn't it? It's just looking at people at home. That's a bit scary.
Where was I?
I think you've covered that. Yeah,
the marriage certificate. One very important thing about marriage certificate. And then I'll let you do the fun bit. I'll be the boring one. So with the marriage certificate, you have to present a marriage certificate if you are a beneficiary of somebody who's got the S1. Now, so far, so good. We've never had a problem with a marriage certificate that's over 90 days old. Right. So don't think you have to go out and get a new. This is a Social Security. It's not immigration. We know immigration are hugely strict on the 90-day rule on duplicate marriage certificates, which is a farcical thing anyway, because it certainly doesn't prove if you got married in the UK, you're still married. They believe it does. But with the Social Security, so far, so good.
Yeah, because I could still get a marriage certificate from my first marriage, and that wouldn't be any good.
Well, yeah. It's crazy, but it's because here in Spain the registration process works slightly differently. So your let's call it your personal circumstance is held with the registry office, and when you go to get something which proves that you're married, then they'll look at your current registered circumstance and give you a print of it. Do you know what? In fact, I can show you one. Do you want to see one?
Oh yeah, go on then. This is exciting. We're actually seeing some real live paperwork.
I'm not that boring. Here we go. So this is the...
Make sure there's no personal details on it.
They're all mine. So they're mine.
There you go then.
So, there you go. So that's the Spanish marriage certificate.
Wow, that does look different.
But it's just a page of a book at the Tomo. So that would not ever be available if I'd got divorced. It would say something slightly different. So that's why they believe. So when that would give your status as divorced, you would never be able to get something exactly the same. And that's why they believe in Spain that if it's an updated document. So recently we had to prove that we were still married. Okay, so to do that, we just get an updated copy of the marriage certificate. And that proves that on this day, this is still registered in the Ministerio de Justicia. So there you go.
It's a shame you can't just go along, both of you, and have an argument in front of them, and then they'll know you're still married.
Yeah. Oh no, just go along, and I'll just go yes.
They'll believe you.
Hope Lara's not watching. She never watches my videos anyway. Never watches my videos. Raoul might have it on, but
I won't tell her. Hello, Raoul. And so Yogi, thanks very much for the donation there. And he says, "Have a coffee on me, guys." How do you manage to do that while you're on a running machine? That's very clever. And he says, "You both do a great job." And everyone, smash that like button. Indeed, yes, I did put up a little ticker tape thing on the screen just a little earlier there to say do that, and also You may have noticed, everyone, there's a QR code in the corner. That's just like the buymeacoffee.com. That one actually goes to the GoFundMe, and it's just a different way of donating. But this one is in particular, it's for YouTooSpain, to show your appreciation, especially if you've learnt something of value to you today, or if you've been entertained. Then click on the like button, subscribe, and use that QR code to help us help you. It's got lots of information about the channel on there as well, so you can read that. It doesn't automatically mean if you hover over that it takes money out of your bank. So go to there anyway and have a look at it. And if everybody does that and does a little donation for a cost of a cup of coffee or two, as Yogi has done, it's actually more than the cost of 2 cups of coffee, isn't it? £4.99. You could probably only get like half a cup of coffee in the UK for that, but here you'll get it 2 or 3, I should think, depending on the exchange rate. Anyway, I'll stop waffling. Just give us a donation. It keeps me smiling and working, and the electricity stays on. At the moment, there's only 1 out of the 3 supplies on at the moment. So yeah, give a donation and we'll get the other ones back on. We can have some sockets working upstairs as well. There we go. So let's have a look. There were some comments on there. And Kez says, to apply for the French S1, it appears you have to apply from the new resident country. So would that mean private cover would be needed in the interim?
Oh, that's a good question. It depends what you're using. So to apply for the S1, it appears you have to apply from the new resident country. So would it mean...
So after you move?
After you move. Depending on what platform you are getting residency on and when you're coming, that's a timing question. So, for example, if you're coming from France on an EU passport, moving to Spain, and you qualify for an S1 in France, and they'll only send it to you in Spain, then maybe we're talking about your insurance cover. So maybe you'll have, first of all, a e-hit card from France to cover you for emergencies. And maybe travel insurance would cover you for anything up to 6 months after that, or even a year. You have to talk to a company without getting insurance which qualifies for residency, because you ultimately wouldn't need it because you've got the S1 on the way. Peace of mind, maybe just a full policy for a year while you're getting your ducks in a row, as we say, for that. So no, administratively, you wouldn't need any private insurance while you wait for the S1. Privately, would you need that? Then, yeah, depending on, what ailments you've got, it'd probably be a good idea to have something in place.
And if you've lived, I think they've lived in France for quite a while, but presumably they did live in the UK. So could they apply for a UK one?
Fantastic question, and this has come up in an awful lot of NLVs we have done from France. So we've done with great pleasure, I don't mean had to do, we've done NLVs through Bordeaux and Paris for UK French residents who haven't qualified for the EU Larga Duración, which is the switchable permanent residency card. So if they got that, they could have switched it from France to Spain, but they haven't had that. So they've had to, or in one circumstance, one of our clients actually wanted to maintain their permanent residency in France, said that they had no obligation to get rid of that when moving to Spain. Well, that's nothing to do with our part of the move. So, leave them to it. And they wanted to get an NLV to live here temporarily and check it out for a year, which we did. And they're going to stay. Now, they had access to the S1, but the S1 originally came from the UK due to their contributions in the UK. They then registered it in France and had been accessing healthcare in France, which is a different thing to whether you've been contributing in France. So if the UK are the people who are covering your healthcare, then you essentially have to reapply to the UK for a new S1. But be careful, because during the visa period, that then cuts your healthcare in France until you re-register it in Spain. And that could be a bigger than 3-month gap. So at that point, you've got to look and be careful that you are covered while you're going through the move. Whereas if you're coming from the UK directly, you're always going to have your NHS. Very important to note that what we came across last year was that now letting you access the NHS if you go home for a visit, if you come to Spain on an S1. Remember, we had that video, so I'm sure you've got that somewhere. But it's completely different, the gap for people who might be moving to France. And there's more people doing that than you think. There's a lot of temporary residents in France who are now choosing Spain moving forward.
Great. So the thing to do is nearer the time, once you know your moving date, or maybe just before that, then you're going to be speaking to Chris anyway in the interim, probably many times anyway. So you can talk through that, because I know that Kez has got Italian passport now.
Yeah.
But I don't know how long. I don't think they've spent much time in Italy, actually, as a resident there.
We're learning Italian. I've learned one word. The kids have learned a lot more than me at the moment.
Ah, molto bene.
Molto bene. Oh, ciao. Apparently ciao works for everything.
Ciao works here as well.
Ciao works for everything. Just go around Italian and say ciao. It's thank you, please, goodbye, thank you, everything. If you like,
ciao, ciao.
Yeah, ciao works.
Yeah. So, Brian in Brisbane says, morning, all a bit late as I've been standing out in the East Midlands sunshine. Yeah, hello to the East Midlands. I spent nearly 30 years in Leicester and Leicestershire, and it is a rare thing indeed. Yes, you're in a bowl in Leicester, so it's also known for its asthma sufferers. There you go. Anyway, I still find it a nice place, but unfortunately, all of the huge shops on the outside, all of the big chains, they're all on, commercial estates now. Right. So all of the shops in the middle that used to be all very, very different in these little arcades that were all just individual shops, they're all closed down now. It's very sad.
Yeah.
Anyway, so hopefully they'll revitalise that. But that's a different question entirely. And let's see. Brian says, sorry, I missed the marriage certificate part. To get a copy of a marriage certificate in Queensland, Australia, a person needs to be resident there, as you need to pick it up or have it emailed or have it mailed to you there. That's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those. It comes down to the assessment of where you can actually get through the whole process without one. Not everybody, albeit they're married or depend on each other, may need to have a marriage certificate. In fact, some of the consulates don't actually even state it as a requirement, but then tell you need one when you get there. So, and if it is 100% certain you need one, then I'd be happy if you wanted to fund some flights to go with Scats, and we could go and pick it up for you. Honestly.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we could do lots of videos about that.
No, that's down to assessment on finances and stuff, whether you actually need one. But certainly, if it's an S1 beneficiary, you may get away with the NLV part of the application, but then when you come to Spain, the Social Security may request it. But then, as I said, we have actually had a lot of success with older certificates. I've had 2 cases which are specific to this, where clients have got here and I've gone, look, Social Security, they're actually quite flexible, and sometimes we're just going to offer a really good explanation as to why we can't present it, and they've accepted it straight away with the translation. That's it.
Brilliant. And Ant saying UK marriage certificates don't have maiden. Oh, he corrects that later on to married name, as per many EU countries. Is there any problems with that in Spain?
No, not so far. No, we don't really have that, because obviously you not everybody changes to their married name, do they? But no, it's fine.
Yeah.
In the NLV actually process, that's fine as well, because the maiden names are on the acros, which proves it was you as well, which is double proof of ID. So.
Ant says we have whole conversations with Ciao. Does that work in France as well? It must work everywhere. It's just multilingual. We have an American squibble. Very nice. I'm a telecommunications lineman from America. Do you think I would have any luck moving to getting a visa in Spain? Do you mean a working visa, presumably, and so that you can carry on the trade? What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, digital nomad visa may suit you if it's telecommunications and you can work from anywhere in the world. I'd imagine that the wages in the US would meet the minimum requirements. So, digital nomad visa.
Is a lineman one of those ones where you've got to go up a pole and actually do physical work? I don't know.
Oh, I don't know.
Not quite sure what
Oh, you mean would you get a job here? I don't know what a telecommunication lineman is. Soon tell you there. Here we go. Live
you look that one up.
communications lineman.
I thought it was like a linesman. That's a football person.
No, telecommunication lineman perform a variety of duties related to the installation, operation, repair, and maintenance of aerial telecommunications.
It's all hands on then.
Yeah, if you mean would you get a job in that field, I have no clue, but the work is difficult to get. It's difficult if you're only got an American passport to get a company, I imagine, unless you're very specialist in your field, to sponsor you for that for a job in Spain. So we have the highly qualified professionals platform, which is exactly for that, and then the companies sponsor people coming in. So it really depends on your speciality and then the company who is sponsoring you.
Technology is a really big thing, and it is specific jobs within technology. I mean, computer programming and things like that. But I'm not sure about those hands-on operations there. It'd be interesting to see. But where do you find that online, Chris? The list
of the visas, or what you need to. That's
the specialist professions.
Yeah. Oh, that's actually on the. I'll send you the link. That's on the. It's on the same. It's the what they call it.
The UK?
The Grandes Empresa. It's not a general immigration law. It's on the Unidades de Grandes Empresas website for the highly qualified individuals.
There we go. Once you've sent that, I'll put that in the video description below. Great. And so, right, back to the S1. It looks like we're not going to have time for the argument today. We'll just get through as much as we can with health and any other questions and the frequently asked questions, because you need to get away at.
We are starting the gymnastics competitions today, locally today. It's finger roller, but got to get home and get sorted out and get out.
Brilliant. Good luck to Isla.
That's me. I'm doing it.
Brilliant. Just a single arm.
Double moves. No, it's not me.
Brilliant. So back to the S1. So we've talked about the not EU citizens. Let's talk about it for retired EU citizens. Is there anything different? I think you've talked about
the difference for the retired EU citizens is that there's no sort of registration or paperwork you have to add to the S1 before you go and get your residency. You just go there with it now printed out. I mean, we had crazy situations in the past as well where, we had one agent once where in Italy, believe it or not, they email you the S1. And we had a client who just printed it off in black and white. It was S1. It's fine. It's got the relevant coding on it. And they said, no, this isn't original. I was like, this is all we got. This is all we got. We got to email. They don't post it out. They're just not part of their system. So you have those stupid things like that. You have to small bumps in the road you have to get over. But now, good thing, 2025, a good print of the S1 is great for your EU appointment. And then once you've got your residency, it's very similar to when you have your visa. You go to Social Security and register it. Now, it's very important to note that the registration isn't done immediately. Okay, it's approved by Social Security, and then you will be given your certificate of access to the healthcare, which you then have to go to your local medical center and register. When you go to your local medical center, depending on where you are in Spain, here, for example, in Andalusia, it depends on which one you go to what you have to fill out, but you have to take there your residency, definitely take your passport with you, your certificate proving you've got access to healthcare. At that point, the S1 is now finished. You don't need it anymore. And you also have to take obviously Padron, I think I mentioned, but at that point the marriage certificate is not required because both of you have already got access to the healthcare.
Brilliant. Thanks for the donation, Brian.
And just on that point where I remember, you will get a document that gives you immediate access to healthcare, as you don't have to wait for your healthcare cards to come through.
Great.
Done.
Anything else about the S1 we need to know with regard to residency? Maybe some experiences from different regions?
Yeah, so at the moment, great. It's working really well in Malaga, getting the S1s registered and through. We work very closely with Marta from Antonio's office on this. She's in a lot of contact with Jane at all times. That's one of the, and she is our social security correspondent almost. Yeah. So, and I have to say, you have to give credit where credit's due. Most circumstances, the social security, albeit in places like Murcia and maybe the non-so popular provinces like Huelva, have taken a bit longer, so 2 or 3 months to come through. Places like Alicante, well, I would say Murcia is not popular, but it takes a while to come through there. Alicante, Valencia, and Malaga and Granada have been pretty quick. Also, we had like a circumstance, for example, and this was a bit of a crazy one, where we had a client who couldn't get her padron and got an S1, and you can't register without a padron, right? Impossible. Malaga said, no. We had proof of where she lived, everything, couldn't get a padron. It was a conflict of interest on one of the park homes here in Malaga. Eventually got her S1 after the TIE card had expired, right? Sorry, padron after TIE card expired. And that meant that when we submitted it, they said, well, the TIE card is expired. You can't have your healthcare registration if the TIE card is expired. And we're like, yeah, we understand that, but circumstance dictates this is the only paperwork we've got on the table. So what we did was we purposely, and with enough time to fix any problems, actually submitted it to the government. And I wouldn't suggest anybody does this, but if you find yourself in this situation, it's certainly to help people, knowing that we would get a letter back saying that they request the registration of the S1, right? Which they did after about a week. And then we went to Social Security and said, oi, the government have told us this, and given the letter, and they approved the registration. So then we submitted that and they got their renewal, which there's hence to say, well, how come they didn't complain about her not having healthcare through the whole time that she was here for the first year? We would have gone back with the argument that, or actually she had access to it, she just didn't register it. So never lose faith if you don't manage to get it registered straight away, but obviously soon as possible is a good idea.
Brilliant. So we have a few more questions, but just before that, a very quick plug for some other friends, and I'm going to put this little thing up on the screen there. As usual, currency exchange. I've told you all about this before, but for the newbies, all I'm going to say is this: use smart currency exchange, and if you use the link in the comments that I'll put, and it's in the video description below, or you can use that QR code. It's over in that direction. I'm all backwards with my hands. And if you use that link, as well as getting a free account and free advice in your own very lovely personal broker, you'll actually be helping YouTooSpain as well. And that is a win-win-win with a cherry on top. Oh, it's all hidden by the thing. So there you go. You can access that QR code at any time. There you go. You can scroll back to it if you want. But yeah, loads of ways of accessing that link. So back to the main feature. Let's talk about working or self-employed people, and what's the process and timing to getting the public healthcare cover for them.
So you actually get that more or less straight away. So if you're in terms of the EU residency, if you're self-employed, most people will apply, get an NIE, get the self-employment first, and then have the access to the healthcare when they get the residency, and use the proof of the access to that healthcare as part of their residency application. So it's the cart before the horse in that sense.
That's what I did, wasn't it?
Exactly. Yeah, I think we got your certificate on the same day as your appointment or something.
Yeah. We got, so it was, for me, it was like NIE first, then proof of healthcare and signing on with the taxman, all of that kind of thing, which then was all of the proof needed for registering residency, and yeah, so it took quite a while altogether. I think it was on like day 89 before we got everything put in, and then Liz, who's got a UK passport, you had to start her application very, very quickly. Huh?
Yes, yeah, we got that in quite quickly. So yeah, obviously with you having freedom of movement as such, you have the freedom to do all of that. You already have the right to be here, right to work and everything, but you exercise that right before you register, using that right as proof that you can register as a resident. It's a completely different way around to people who don't have permission to live in Spain.
Yeah. What about if they're non-EUs coming in on the self-employment visa? Is there anything different about that?
Don't know. We don't manage that platform,
manage.
so we don't do it.
Okay. So there's an it depends. There's probably a lot of it depends going on about that.
I think self-employment visas have to be approved first, from what I know, and then when you get here, you need to register. So you don't actually register before you get the visa. I know that much, but we don't touch self-employment visas, and can't find anybody else to refer to either, because no one wants to touch them.
No, I'm not surprised. Yeah, it used to be Rochelle who did all of that, but she just went to a digital nomad visa because, well, there's a lot more of them and they're very popular.
Yeah, and if you're doing it day in, day out, I mean, Rochelle's got a very particular niche in what she does. She's amazing at what she does. And I think if you do something day in and day out, you understand what what's happening then and there at the time. You know, you need to be in it to understand the current circumstance from all administrative bodies, but it's impossible to do it across a broad spectrum of 50 visas.
Yeah. Absolutely. Let's get this question from Donald Mackenzie. I'm an EU citizen. What happens for my non-EU spouse? Does she have to go through the pre-registration process for the S1?
No, actually, no. It's a great question, and I didn't mention that before. So no, she doesn't have to do any pre-registration. What will happen is you'll get your residency, and then when we submit your spouse's residency, that just goes in with a copy of the S1, but there's no pre-registration needed.
Brilliant. Anton Kes said they couldn't obtain proof from the UK embassy, consulate, nor births and marriages in UK, hence Italian citizenship in the maiden name. FYI, anyone in the same boat? Ciao, ciao. And he also says, or they also say, when I had frozen shoulder, found swimming help, but only in a circle. Strange but true. One-armed swimming. Absolutely. That's a different kind of gymnastics, isn't it? What do they call that when you're in a pool?
Oh yeah, yes. It's I don't know what it's called. It's they stick the legs up and stuff.
Synchronized. That's it.
Synchronized. Yeah, it's not.
Yeah. There we go. They're also saying, glad you know how to line up ducks. Patos. There we go. So let's talk about what you need if you have to get private healthcare. Bearing in mind, of course, next week we'll be talking in more depth to someone who sells the healthcare insurance and knows all about the policies, so we don't need to cover any of that. So just remind us first, who must get this rather than public healthcare, and can you have both?
You can have both, absolutely no problem at all. So if just closing off on the S1, if you've got an S1 but you don't feel comfortable using using Social Security or public healthcare system in Spain, there's no problem with you having a private healthcare. You know, no one's stopping you having that. And I've known clients who have come in on the S1, registered the S1, and while they're getting their feet under the table with their local doctor, have had a private healthcare policy, which wouldn't have been eligible for residency because they couldn't get it because of certain ailments, but it does support them on certain levels, like seeing a doctor and stuff like that.
Yeah, and then their charges as well for just going in and having, you know, like a colonoscopy. If you wanted a test doing like that, you can book in for one of those, and it's not like in America where they cost thousands and thousands. It's like €100, 150 or something like that just to go in and get that done, which I wish I'd done 10 months before getting mine done on the public system. But there you go.
Yeah, that's it. You know, so you can definitely combine them. If you don't have access to S1, evidently it's very stringent when the type of policy that you need for a visa or a residency application. Going back to what we said earlier on, at the EU appointments, it's the person who is behind a desk, whoever decides if that policy is valid or not and what they want to see. Most of the time, they have to meet 3 main criteria, where they have no co-payments, no excess, co-payment excess, same thing, no exclusions, and on some occasions, no waiting times either. Right, for access to healthcare. Now, I won't get into too much to the structure of the policies because you're going to go have a whole show on that next week. So I'll leave that to Kieran next week. But we know that most healthcare providers have policies which are now specialised for residency and NLV purposes. So you definitely need one of those if you are coming over on an NLV and don't have access to healthcare or S1, sorry, or on an EU platform, coming here with an S1. Just a note on the timing as well. Again, this has come up this week, and it's so difficult for people who are getting a visa, getting the timing right, because that you might be waiting, especially if you're going to Manchester, for example, 3 months for a visa, but then you need to get healthcare. The healthcare needs to be paid for. You need to have the proof of the receipt, and we always advise it's best that it's the full year paid for the first initial visa. That's not always the case in the renewals, but definitely for the first initial visa. But you can post date the start of the insurance and have it paid and have the certificate. For example, if you're going to an appointment on the 1st of June and your target entry date into Spain is the 1st of August, you can actually pay and to start on the 1st of August, and then while your visa's being processed, the likelihood is they'll give you that or a later date on the visa to start with. Problems with that, most companies won't let you do it very far in advance. So a lot of people are, it's insurance is insurance. When you're speaking to somebody about insurance, brokers, they want to sell insurance. That's their job. That's how they make their money. Like we make money selling visas. It's they want to sell it now. So if you're going to talk to somebody in January and you're thinking about moving over in November, and they can say, well, hang a minute, we can go through this whole rigmarole of getting you a quote, but then that expires after 60 days. We're going to have to start again at the end of the year. So frustrating as it is, most people want to be trying to structure their finances to come to Spain, know how much the insurance is, but then can't get a quote until very close to the time that they're getting their appointment. So it's the wonderful tapestry of the NLV.
Yes, timing. As Anka say, timing top of the pops. Yeah. So I won't ask any more questions about that, actually, because I think the best thing to do is, if you have any more questions about this, then get in touch with Chris at via the website or
website. You can drop us an email to YouTube at upsticks.es if you like. It seems to be a popular one now. And or contact us, book a call on the website, and obviously don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel as well.
Absolutely. And the website is upsticks.es.
Yep.
There you go. Okay, it's time to ask us anything, which is a lot of you are doing that anyway. So I'll just throw in the jingle in case there are more questions, and I do have one that came from online. So ask us anything you like, as long as it's to do with moving to Spain or living here. Thank you. Thank you. So I have one question from social media. I can't remember where this came. Oh yes, it came in under the video Spain NLV, how to fill in the forms, and it's from Jeanette Knights. Let's put it up on the screen because you can't see it yet. And there it is. And let's put us back on the screen as well. There we are. Pop. And so she says, hi there, I just watched your video on how to complete the form 709052. That's Modelo, that's the payment form, isn't it? It didn't show how to use the online version, which was a shame. Yes, but I didn't understand the address scenario as described. Yeah, this is a common problem, I think.
Yeah.
We don't have a street number, but name of the block and then flat number. How do I complete? Your help is much appreciated. Can you leave some bits blank? I suppose that's the question.
You can leave it blank. I mean, you have to make the boot fit, unfortunately, and it's with the UK addresses if you're doing it for your initial. So just back it up. We used to always use the Spanish address on the 790052 for the consulates in the UK until last year without a problem. Then suddenly Manchester, and then sort of after that Edinburgh, started telling our clients that they had to have the UK address. And on one occasion, they had one of our clients scribbling all over the current form that they had in Spanish address. Like everything, you find these changes in interpretation of the rules, out the first time it happens, So then putting a UK address into the 790052, quite frankly, is an absolute pain. Lara's probably the best person to answer this because she's the one that's been doing them. Yeah, you've got to make the boot fit, really. So get your address. You can, on some occasions, what we do is we actually use the address line if there's too many numbers to fit in the piso and numero section to add any sort of details that may need to be on there. What I would say is if this is for consulate purposes, don't stress too much. As long as the address is represented there, which is on your national visa application form, if a number is in a wrong box or whatever, it's not too much of a problem. That's not going to cause your visa to be rejected. It does definitely need to be good when it's the 790052 for your renewal. That's when you need to make sure that you've got it good with your Spanish address on. But yeah, it's make the boot fit, I'm afraid, trying to squeeze a UK address into a Spanish one.
There you go. And it is, like you say, 790052. She's put 709. She's got the numbers backwards. And I should have realised that. I thought there was something wrong with it when I was looking at it. There you go. But thanks for the question, Jeanette. I hope that answers everything. But if not, as we've said, get in touch with Chris and he'll help you out with that. And so there's no more questions on the live chat. Let's move very quickly on to the frequently asked questions. Have we got time for this, Chris? I know it's just over the hour.
Yes, let's go for it quickly.
Right, lovely. So why not? We'll have the jingle anyway while I'm getting the questions up. FAQs just for you, but some of them might not be so frequent. True, some of them might not be so frequent. So yes, we've got 3 of them. 2 of them are about importing and registering your car in Spain, which you and Lara do a lot of. So first of all, how long does it take to register a vehicle after the ITV, and what are the next steps?
Yep, so we've got this again. It depends. After you've registered with the after you've passed the ITV, you have to go to the town hall to register the local town hall tax. You have to go to Hacienda to register the special registrations tax or waive. Waiving the tax can take up to 2 months. So nowadays, it doesn't happen so much. So many vehicles are so low in emissions. Generally, the special registrations tax is low anyway. You then have, if it's for change of ownership as well, you'll have to go to your local government to pay that tax, the Model 621. So it's 3 agencies or 3 places you need to go, or digitally present taxes before you can go to the DGT to get the final registration. In a good case scenario, we always say 5 to 10 working days after the ITV, if there's no sort of complications with any one of those 3. And the biggest complication normally comes from the town halls, to be honest, because they're the ones that have to process the initial payment of the tax without a matriculation number because you don't have it at that time. And then they can take, for example, if the person goes on holiday, like in August, then that person is only in charge of that thing. And you've got a registration going for in July, as we had last year, in Granada. And we got hold of the town hall. They went, well, the person who does that isn't here. I'm like, well, could you do it? They're like, no, you'd have to come back to us in September, which put the whole process back a month.
Nightmare. Okay.
So that's the lesson. It depends on your town hall. If you're in somewhere like Malaga, or if you've got a great online platform, they get back to you in about 3 hours,
Brilliant. And Anke said, quite rightly, 34 views, 24 thumbs up. Thumbs up, you all, to help the channel. Great. There's actually probably more like 100 to 200 people watching the show over the course of the show anyway. So yes, all of you do that. Question number 2 then. What happens if my car gets impounded while I'm going through the process? That's a nightmare.
Yep. Just remember that you always have to keep your vehicle in legal in the country of origin until you registered your vehicle or get provisional plates from Spain. If it does get impounded, then you have to get the provisional plates, which you can get without passing an ITB. Then insure those plates, have them put on, and normally the impound costs or pickups are around 70 to 100 euros, and they'll charge you 10 euros a day for the vehicle to actually be there. So just remember, if there's no chance of you keeping your vehicle legal with tax, MOT, and a current road safety test and insurance in the country of origin, such as UK or anywhere you're bringing it from, you will need to organise provisional plates while you're going through the process.
Brilliant. We'll answer your question, David Armstrong, in a moment, but let's have the third question of the FAQs. In the residency process, how many days do I have to reply to a requirement from the government? So is that for more documentation?
Yeah, normally it's 10 working days, but check the wording on the government's letter. Very, very important, because if it says dias hábiles, it means working days. If it says dias naturales, then it means 10 days, including weekends and bank holidays, because it's natural days.
Yep.
If it doesn't say either or of those, and it just says 10 days, well, under administrative law, and I've discussed this with Antonio before, you should default to 10 working days.
Great. Excellent. Right then, so that was fun. Let's just answer David Armstrong's question. What's the waiting time for NLVs from London BLS? Thanks for a good show.
At the moment, 4 to 8 weeks. To slow down a bit with London at the moment. In our experience, it's 4 to 8 weeks. Same for Edinburgh. Edinburgh could be 4 to 12 weeks for some reason. I don't know why. Yep. And Manchester, anything up to 12 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Good to know. And Anke say, it depends. I'm going to put that up on the screen again. It depends. I'm going to wear my T-shirt one day soon with that on. There we go. So we haven't got time for the argument tonight. I had a really, really, really important one lined up.
Oh,
but we'll
have to do that next time.
Yeah. So yeah, we had great fun with it, surprising you.
Yeah, I prefer that. I think it's more spontaneous. I mean,
yeah. Well, you never do any research on it anyway, even if you know the question. So it's all spontaneous.
No point, is there? No.
May as well surprise you with it.
You got to stick your head out the window and go for it. That's basically it, isn't it?
No, I asked Google for what would be a good topic this time, and it came up with a whole list of possibilities, and so I just chose one that appealed to me. There you go. So hope you've enjoyed the show, everybody. Make sure you click on the like button, as you've been saying, and tell us why. And unfortunately, that's all we have time for this week. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and join. Oh yeah. Oh right. Oh, prizes.
Prizes.
Well, I should write this into my script, because I keep forgetting every time, and you're in such a rush. Right, so you get one of these lovely Upsticks folders.
This is our special YouTube prize bags.
Yes, very stylish.
You have to, when you get there, you have to go around all your family and press subscribe to Upsticks when you receive it. You get your Upsticks magnet. You've got some stuff coming as well, which is good. YouTooSpain. We've got some stickers. There you go. You can randomly stick them on your friends' cars.
I've got one of them. Yeah.
And
actually, it fell off the other day. It's after being on there for months and months and months. So I found it on the ground outside the house. So
okay, you don't
whack it back on again.
I keep randomly sticking these on like people that I know at the school. Just stick it on their car.
You stick it on the car without them knowing.
No, they don't care. There you go. And the calendars. Now these calendars are very good. And then we've got these, which are like pencil cases as well. So
nice.
Jason's Web. I'm glad you've got yours, because we always have to worry when we send stuff abroad. We have to declare it as documents.
Mm-hmm.
So I was hoping that Jason's Web wasn't going to get. Here's your price from Upsticks, and here's a £25 bill for whatever it's inside it. But no, he got it, so that's fine.
Fabulous.
And if it's
Now,
Spain, you might get a Brucey bonus because we can send more.
brilliant. I tell you what, should we give Donald Mackenzie a prize? Because I think it's the first time you've been on the live chat, Donald. So he's going to get in touch with you to help with your planned move. Whereabouts are you based, Donald? With a name like that, you've got to be Scottish. But you never know. You may be first, second generation moved over to anywhere, really.
Drop an email to youtube@upsticks.es, Donald, with your address and your phone number.
Brilliant. So just the one pack, or are we going to
go for it?
A couple?
Go for it. We're feeling generous. Go for it. We've got more stuff to give away.
Let's see who's there. Well, David Armstrong asked the question about waiting times. So yes, send your details to that email address that Chris just gave you.
Yep.
And Jason said, "Oh, you missed out my question. What was it? Will it be best to ask next week?" Well, if it's about insurance policies, then yes. But very quickly ask the question. I know there's about a 23-second delay, but see if you can ask it very quickly while I'm rounding up everything else. Robert Stubbs from Cooking Made Easy said, "Good stuff as always, guys." Do you do any keto recipes on there, Robert? Because I'm collecting them at the moment. And Antka said, "Still got the folders." Donald Mackenzie said, "Yes, I was quite right. Glenfarg in Perthshire." That's definitely Scotland. And Antka said, "Highly recommend Chris and Upsticks. Muchas hasta." El Davido says, "Top show. Ciao." Oh, there we go. Let's everybody say ciao. Wendy Jackson. Oh, you had something there. Hope all is well. Looking good. Just received my year 4 and 5 NLV Alicante. Did it myself and took 35 days. That's pretty good going. Because getting an appointment there's not easy. Awaiting the blasted TIE fingerprint appointment. They are very limited. Okay, yes, that's the one you have to wait for. There you go. Any way of speeding that up, Chris? I'm not sure there is.
No, you just got to keep hitting it. Daily grind.
Hit the button. It's like getting tickets for Comic-Con, isn't it? There you go. Mentioned Comic-Con again. And so we're waiting for Jason to ask that question. Is it coming up? Nothing yet, but anyway, so don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Join me and Chris every 2 weeks for more expert advice about the new residency rules, and don't miss the shows in between either. And I'll just tell you again in a moment who your special guest will be next week. But for now then, let's give Chris a big virtual hug and a kiss and say goodbye for now, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Will do. Cheers, guys. See you later.
All right. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.
There we go. So who do we have on the show next week? Well, as I told you, it's part 2 of our health insurance healthcare cover, and we're going to talk specifically about healthcare insurance. And our guest is Kieran from Insure, and he's been on the show a few times before, and it'll be lovely to have him back with his delightful Irish accent. He's going to answer all of your questions about policies available and anything else you need to know. So hopefully, Jason, yes, we can answer your question next week. But otherwise, then do send the question to Chris at YouTube at upsticks.es. That was the address. Don't forget to join our Facebook group, everybody, if you haven't already. And if you don't know how to do that, then there is definitely a link in the video description. Just scroll quite far down to almost to the very bottom of the information there, and you'll see links to the Facebook group and to the website and all kinds of things. If you can't find that, then go to the super link, which is just below the first big block of information that tells you all about what this video is about. And yes, because you can ask questions in advance on that Facebook group, or even on the Facebook page, because we've got both, and you can be part of the show whether you're watching live or not. But do watch live if you can, like all of you have been doing today. Then you can respond and wave and feel like you're part of the family too. So thank you so much to all of you for joining us and leaving comments and hitting the like button and supporting us with that thing over there or with the membership thing down there. And yes, memberships, there's loads of things you can do and loads of ways of connecting with the YouTube channel. It's all very much appreciated, and it helps us to be seen by more people, and then you get more friends to talk to. I'll see you either on the midweek video at 6 p.m. Spanish time on Wednesday, or catch us live on Saturday mornings, of course, at our regular time of 10 o'clock if you're in Spain, or that's CET, Central European Time. And of course, that's 9 a.m. if you're in the UK or Ireland or Portugal or the Canaries. There may be some time in the future, if you watched our video, the Wednesday video this week, you'll know that there are plans, and it has been written into Spanish law and it's been in the bulletin, that they intend to get rid of changing the clocks. Now, whether it happens next year or the year after, I don't know, because there's still debate going on about exactly when and how to do it. And of course, if they get rid of the changing clock times, do they settle for summertime, which is where you're an hour ahead, or do you settle for the standard time? And does Spain go back to being geographically the same as Portugal, Ireland, the UK and the Canaries, so that Spain and the Canaries can have the same time zone once again, which would make sense. They only changed during the Second World War to be in tune with their wartime German partners. There you go. There's a bit of a history lesson for you. But yeah, you watch that video from Wednesday. Goes into that. And so that is all for this week. Someone pass around the healthcare cookies part 1, please. Don't hog them. Peace and love for peas and fluff. And here's one final message from all of the voices in my head at YouTooSpain. I will see you soon. Wave goodbye, lads. Bye.
Goodbye.
Toodaloo. Peace and love.
Peas and fluff.
Oi, oi.
Don't do anything I wouldn't do.
One more cosmic dance?
All right then.
Look, Mum, I'm dancing. Oh, I'm all a quiver.
Let's dance.